let's talk about text. A couple of things over here. Under the type tool, you have a number of options, right? If there's a little arrow at the corner, you have more to look at. So you can type in an area, type on a path, type vertically within an area, all kinds of options, right? So the most basic thing that you can do is, is create a text box. Now my suggestion is if you want to do something that's paragraphy, do it in a text box because it will limit where that text ends. If, on the other hand, you just want to make a letter, you can just tap once and then type that letter. Obviously, we have some text size issues, and that window is down here under type. You have a couple of things. Characters, where you're going to get a lot of the tools that you need for this particular project. Paragraph is where you find things like alignment options, and if you need to do indents or make a margin, those kinds of things, set tabs. But we're really looking at what font you're using here, and you can see you have tons and tons of fonts, no problem. And perhaps, let me do one of those, your size. Now, however large we need it. I'm going to make this really large on here. I am working in the 18 by 24 size document, but so that you can see it, I'm going to make the font pretty big. Again, have your rulers up so you can see how big things really are. You are going to make it for real, so the sizes are for real. That. So, some options that we have with a letter or more letters. If you wanted to have another letter, we could do this, right? And then we have another one, and then another one, another one. This lets you play with these letters individually, right? So you can move them around and make them join however you want it to be. So it's interesting to you, right? It should still be legible. This one's maybe not so much legible, but maybe you want to do something at a diagonal and you want some overlap, or I don't know, maybe you have some interesting things going on. So that doing the letters individually will let you do that. No problem. The other thing that you can do with your text, under the type drop down here, you have the create outlines option. Now if we zoom in, you will see that we have an outline around here, and you will see it particularly well if we switch the fill in the outline, right, over here. And now we have something we can work with. If you want to then work with your anchor points, switch to your direct selection tool, and you could ostensibly pull on, click off, click back on. Make your font be very personalized. So you could like customize this, grab a couple of these guys, and make your font do exactly what you want it to do. Whatever that is and whyever that is. Remember that if you're asking yourself, okay, why do I have so many anchor points? Maybe I don't need so many. You can also go in and we can delete an anchor point, so I can just get rid of that one. I don't really need it. Maybe I don't even need that one. Or maybe you decide you want to add one because you have an idea for something. Then you're adding an anchor point, pen tool, right? Any place on here. Then you can go back to your direct selection tool, select set anchor point, and do whatever you like with it. So remember that your text can be modified to suit your needs. And also, once you have this, you could work with multiple letters and connect them into one if you wanted to cut them all out. Oops. Uh-oh. Cut them all out and connect them, you could do that. Let's grab this. Maybe I want to make that all tippy so it only connects a little bit. There we go. Then back to the type tool where create outlines, no problem. There we go. Switch to get your outline. Happy campers. Then you can do just like you did either, I don't know if we can do this with a shape tool. Yes, we can, right? Just like that. Now they're joined, and now you can cut that whole thing out however you want. Awesome. You could also use the direct selection tool to select part of a path or an anchor point to get rid of some part of those overlaps. So multiple options. Other cool things we can do. You can type on a path. So let's make a path. Here's the thing about typing on a path. I'm a fan of creating your own path with pen tool. Remember that if you click and then click and let up, then you get corners. Otherwise, if you click and drag, you get a curve, right? And when you are done, this keeps wanting to keep drawing unless you close your shape. As long as you hit return, it'll end that line wherever your last point was set down. Then we can go back to our type tool, and we can do a type on a path. And you go over to type on a path. The path will highlight. See that little pink path highlighting? Oh, there we go. So now it would help if this was a smaller font for this particular path. Right? And you can see how that would work. Your name. Oops. Your name. Let's put the cursor back in here. So you get the idea. Anytime you have your path, you can type on it, make the font fit. This is what I mean about corners and curves being a little bit wonky. If it's too tight, then the letters can't fit down into it, so that's a problem. So plan that out a little bit. This also works if you are sure, maybe 2. All right, there we go. Same deal here. You can go back to your type on a path and have it type on a path around a shape. You on the capacity for this, we also have the capacity somewhere in this to make it go above the line, inside the line, halfway through the line. So whatever you need to do for your font, that's possible. Where those buttons are right now, I'm not quite sure, but you get the idea. What else? Right, we have the capacity to type in a shape. Let's give ourselves another shape, shall we? So excited, 2 inches, all right, fine. Here's the interesting thing about this. Do this. It works when it's filled too, but you have your polygon up here in your layers, right? If I want to have, oops, oh dear, don't want another one of those. If I want a paragraph, type tool, that will work. And slightly smaller fonts. Oh, because I have the height set. Oh. Go back to auto. Anyway, you can take this, but it has to be, the shape has to be above the text that you're merging with it in your layers palette. So it doesn't have to have a separate layer. You want them actually both on the same layer, but the sub-layers, the text needs to be below the shape. Then, if you select both of these guys, ooh, I selected a whole bunch of things. Both those guys. Apparently it also wants that text path. Why? There we go. Then we can go up here to envelope, distort, make with top object. And your text is going to go inside your shape. Now if I made the text taller, it would, larger, it would be taller, and it would fit in there a little bit. Think a little bit about how many words are going to fit into your shape. Oops. Before you do that, maybe you have to experiment a little bit with how big it can be, but you have that capacity. You can also do that with a drawn shape if you make some wackadoo weird shape. You have that capacity as well. So there's some text. And then we put this down below that path. Select both of these guys. Oh, not that one. There we go. And object, envelope distort, make the top object, boom, yada. So all kinds of fun things going on here. It does distort things. Envelope distort definitely distorts. So you've got narrower parts and those lines are coming in. It's going to do some weird things, but it could be interesting. Text. Yeah. Once you have the text that you want, it's going to become a graphic because you are engraving it, unless you are doing something like this so you specifically can cut it out. So think carefully about what you're doing. Yeah. You will notice that, uncompound that. Nope, it's not going to release the compound path. All right, so we have a compound path anyway for this guy. But it's a path, not a text. So we still have letters. We could like erase and type in a new letter here. This ST is no longer a letter. It's just the path outline because we've done the outlines for the fonts. I think that's a good start to have things underway. I would say experiment as much as you want. You can certainly draw your own letters if you wanted to for some reason. You can vary your fonts. Enjoy all kinds of options.